Hi there, everybody. This is Carrie Hamblen, the CEO and president of the Las Cruces Green Chamber of Commerce, bringing to you again another one of our Zoom chats. These are benefits that we offer to the members of the Green Chamber to help uplift what you're doing in the community. And today I have a dear old friend. He and I go way back here as part of the Academy for Learning in Retirement. It is the one and only Lonnie Klein, who is the music director, conductor emeritus of the Las Cruces Symphony Orchestra. And he is going to be giving an amazing talk on music for the upcoming Academy for Learning and Retirement Speaker Series. Lonnie, it's so good to see your face. How are you?
Barry, it's good to see your face. It's been too many years since you left the station, and you're now state senator and doing these podcasts and also CEO of the Green Chamber. So you've got a busy schedule.
A little bit, but I love it.
I'm 25 all the time.
Yeah, yes. And so, you're part of the speaker series. So the Academy for Learning and Retirement, they have their speaker series. And looking at their schedule, I'm going to put the website on here, but they've got a great schedule. And what a way to start it off with your talk about Beyond the Velvet Curtain. And before we get into the actual talk, this is something that I've known for you since we've known each other for over 20 years. That something that always stuck out about you was that how excited you were to talk about music and help people, especially like non-musical people like me, understand classical works. And so when did that enthusiasm begin to help people understand classical music?
Well, Carrie, that's actually a very good question. And for me, it's generational. And by that, I mean, I was inspired by my fifth grade, sixth grade band teacher, my orchestra teacher, my choir director. They were enthusiastic about me learning. I was enthusiastic about what they were challenging me with in terms of repertoire, playing the clarinet, taking me to orchestra concerts, taking me to band concerts, taking me to festivals across the state of Kentucky and Tennessee. And they were infectious. But inspiration really comes from the love of music and just digging in to composers I didn't really know anything about at that time. I was just a kid, 11 years old, but learning about Haydn and Mozart and Beethoven and certainly the music of the 20th century. And so it became natural for me because I consider myself a teacher actually as a conductor, because what you're trying to do as a conductor is convey to the orchestra what you think the concept is with collaboration with them. And so what I want to do is inspire the orchestra, inspire the audience, ignite the orchestra. And I'm always enthusiastic. And so many people ask me at times, what's your favorite piece of music? And I always say, the piece I'm currently conducting.
Right, because that's like asking your favorite child.
Right, I know, exactly.
Yeah.
And so if it's Haydn or Mozart or Beethoven or Brahms, Tchaikovsky, Prokofiev, Shostakovich, Gershwin, Mendelssohn, it doesn't matter. It's also exciting. And there's so much rich history involved in each piece that you're conducting or the composer. So I'm genuinely excited to make music with my colleagues. And it's just a natural reaction to the music, to the audience. I can talk music all day, and it doesn't matter if you're educated or uneducated. There's something in music that will speak to you, speak to your heart, speak to your emotion, whether it be classical, which I don't necessarily like that term. I really like art music, which it covers everything.
And, Lonnie, I used to announce classical music for years, but I have no music background. I can hear accents and I can speak different language. I can mimic different languages, which is why I could announce it. But there was one song, there was one piece, and it was the Symphony of Sorrowful Songs, and I forgot the composer.
That would be Igor Stravinsky.
Was it Stravinsky's Symphony of Sorrowful Songs?
Well, see, he composed Symphony of Psalms.
Yeah, no, this one, I think his last name began with a G, like Grigoriev or something like that. But it was this, amazing piece that conveyed. That's like the first time that I felt like emotion in a piece of music, and it was something that was so profound for me because I don't have a music background, and so I think that was like one of those experiences of like, wow, this music really touched me, and I wasn't expecting it. And it's like that what you try to do is to have people like open up those doors so that they can experience that music. And sometimes it's with knowledge and appreciation and understanding. Am I getting that right?
You're getting it absolutely right. And I just want to say, you don't have to have a knowledge of music. You don't have to study classical music. I would say classical. I would say art music,
Yeah.
because there's going to be music that's going to speak to you. When I listen to Schindler's List, it speaks
Oh,
to me.
yeah.
When I listen to Williams' Star Wars, it speaks to me. When I hear the four notes that change the world, bum 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 bum,
Yes.
bum 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 bum, that's revolution to evolution. Beethoven's four notes changed the world. He made a motive, took a motive and made it into a melody. And when you hear that motive, quote, melody, and the drama and the intensity and what he did for the symphony, expanding it beyond Haydn and Mozart, it's incredible. So you don't have to be a musician, and just don't even have to know anything about classical music, orchestra, but I guarantee you there's thousands of pieces of music that will speak to your heart. And it could be 20th century, Gershwin, Copland, Bernstein, or John Williams, or even the Godfather.
Oh, right.
Just that music, just a very great Italian composer that just happened to write for film.
Yeah. Just a clarification, it was Heinrich Goretzky, Symphony of Sorrowful Songs. That was the piece.
Right.
And that's the thing. It's like it's been over 10 years since I was doing anything with classical music, and it still does that. And that's like when you can find that nugget that really moves you and impacts you, that really just kind of opens the door for appreciation of other music because something has moved in you and
Right.
you're able to do that.
I've known so many patrons and sponsors that don't know much about classical music or orchestral music, but they hear it and they love it. They can't explain it why they love it, but that's the whole point of music as an art form. You don't have to be able to play it, but you can listen to it, and there's going to be some point where it's going to speak to your heart.
Yeah.
And the genre of, whether it's opera, ballet, the ballets of Tchaikovsky, the film music of the 20th century, that's going to speak to everyone at some point. So what I'm trying to do in this series, I'm basically walking you through the Middle Ages to the Renaissance, to the Baroque period. Then we hit the classical, and then the Romantic, and then I do nationalism. And I talk about, then I merge right into 20th century and what American composers took our art form, the genre basically of jazz, and incorporated that into orchestral music, i.e. Rhapsody in Blue, West Side Story, Copland's El Salon Mexico, sort of exoticism, taking music from Mexico and making an American sound through an orchestra. So it's not going to be erudite. As I said, I want to inspire the audience, ignite the orchestras or audience so that they can go out and say, you know what, I want to listen to Beethoven's symphony, or I want to hear Mozart, or I want to hear Gershwin, or I want to hear Tchaikovsky's Fourth, Fifth, and Sixth Symphony. What great music that is, or his ballet music.
Well, and that's the thing. So the idea, the theme of your talk is Beyond the Velvet Curtain: Radical Melodies, Harmonies, Orchestration, and Rhythm, 1800 to 1940. That's 140 years of music, which is amazing to even just think about. First of all,
I know, I agree, and you can't. And I want the audience to know. I'm going to be very clear. It's like I can't talk about 140 years in 4 sessions. But what I want to do is give them an overview. When I go all the way back to the Catholic Church in the 9th century, and we do Gregorian chant, that's where it came from. And then we go from Gregorian chant to the motet, and we work through the Middle Ages. And then suddenly we have secular music, and we have street musicians playing in the castle, street musicians playing in the taverns, playing on the street. And we leave the aristocracy and we start doing secular music, and patrons start buying tickets.
Right.
Can you imagine? And we're not under the court. And so we go from that genre of monody to the Middle Ages to the Renaissance to Baroque. And then, of course, we have Bach. And then we have Vivaldi and Corelli and Tortini and Torelli. And then we merge right into the classical music of this, what they call this first Viennese school, which is Haydn, Mozart, and Beethoven.
Ah, okay. Okay.
So,
do you remember? Do you remember when the Gregorian chant was mixed in with pop music, like back in the 90s, and it like became something really popular?
I do vaguely remember that.
Yeah, that's when I started, and Tom Heisinger was like, "Oh, you got to listen to this. This is a big crossover of Gregorian chant and pop music, like Enya." And it had its moment, but it's not here anymore. So that might be a better thing.
Well, but they do take melodies from the Gregorian chant, and they can add the rhythm and they can add a bass. You have to know Gregorian chant's monody. It's only one voice. There's absolutely no accompaniment. It's just one singer in the church.
I know.
And that's where we came from. That whole, singing in the church, not in the vernacular, always in Latin. And so I'll tell our audience that we're going to modulate from that to the Reformation, where suddenly music is going to be sung in the church with instruments like Gabrielli, and then the mass is going to be in the vernacular, which would be in German or French or Italian, not necessarily Latin, certainly Spanish. And so that whole concept winds all the way through European Western music, art music.
So, Lonnie, how do you cut all this information down into 4 sessions? Because I cannot imagine you editing yourself a whole lot just because of all this stuff. I mean, that's a lot, and you got to really whittle it down.
I do. I've spent many hours preparing for this. It would be certainly easier, like in graduate school, where I had a semester, or perhaps I was just studying the classical era, or maybe the Romantic era. We were even more focused on just the symphonies and the chamber music of Beethoven. So that's been the challenge. So I do have everything timed. So I'm going to talk about monody very quickly, and I'm going to play a Pope Marcellus Mass and a chant, and that's going to be 4 or 5 minutes tops, and then I'm going to modulate right to the Middle Ages, and I'm going to play a little bit of that, because I want our audience to know a perspective. And so I'm still going to walk through the Haydn and Mozart classical period. That's all going to take about 30 minutes. That's going to give me an hour to spend on Beethoven, because that really was the focus. How did Beethoven, from revolution, evolution, evolution, revolution, you could flip it, what did he do that was so different than Mozart, Haydn, Vivaldi? And it just came suddenly. He was not part of the court. He sold tickets. His music was published. He did radical things, like he added trombones to the symphony. Can you imagine?
That's so odd. Just that was not something that you typically expected.
No, well, but he was way ahead of his times.
Yeah,
it's not that Mozart didn't have some trombones, but never. Mozart wrote 41 symphonies. Beethoven wrote 9. How come he only wrote 9? Oh, he was very prolific. His symphonies were much more complex, much more developed in each movement. He changed the minuet and trio, which we danced to in the court. He changed that to a scherzo. It's like, no, you don't dance to my music. You're going to listen to my music. You're not going to dance to my music. That was revolutionary. He had trombones in the symphony. He had a battery of percussion and timpani, and his rhythmic energy that he had was way ahead of what Mozart and Haydn did. Yes, they had rhythm, but how can you go ba 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 and then break?
Right.
start. It's just magnificent. So that's going to be the focus of the first.
And that's just the first.
That's just the first session.
Just the first one. So, Lonnie, as we finish up today, you've got 4 sessions. And we'll have the dates above and below and the topics of what Lonnie's going to be talking about so that you don't have to write this down, but we'll have all that information. What do you hope folks get out of the 4 sessions? Because it's going to be Tuesday, September 2nd, Thursday, September 4th, and then the 9th and 10th of September. So what do you hope folks walk away with this?
I want them to come and relax. I want them to listen to me talk about my experiences and the repertoire that I'm going to work through. But mainly, they leave inspired and ignited. And if there's something that I can say or inspire, that they'll go out and say, you know what, I want to buy a Mozart symphony, or I want to buy the Beethoven symphonies, or his chamber music. He only wrote 1 opera, Fidelio, which was way, by the way, ahead of his time. So the idea is that, yes, I want it to be entertaining. Yes, I want them to get some knowledge about the history of classical music or art music, but can't do it in an hour and a half. But I'm going to be very focused on the title behind the velvet curtain, which is behind the scenes, sort of what I'm talking about, and try to inspire them to go out and say, I loved Beethoven, and by the way, the second session is going to be on Berlioz, and he really rocked the wall. He wrote Symphonie Fantastique 1 year after Beethoven wrote or passed away. And that's 5 movements, and it's dark and macabre, but it's also very exciting. So that's the romantic era that we're going to get into after Beethoven.
Yeah, well, Lonnie, I mean, your enthusiasm for music has always been very contagious. And so it's so lovely to talk with you. Lonnie Klein is the music director, conductor emeritus of the Las Cruces Symphony Orchestra, and also an NMSU professor of music emeritus. And he is going to be the kickoff of the Academy for Learning and Retirement's 2025-2026 season. It starts on Tuesday, September 2nd. I'm going to have all the information above or below, all depending on what platform you're looking at, so that you can go ahead and look at that. And if you'd like more information, you can go ahead and look at the Academy for Learning and Retirement website, and I'll put that on there too, and you can check out all of their speaker series. It's going to be an amazing, amazing season, and what better way to kick it off with you, Lonnie? So it's so lovely to see you. And I will say, break a leg, not literally when you do this, but I know that you can do this in your sleep, and it's going to be a great, great talk.
Okay, Carrie, thank you so much. It's good to see you, and good luck to you and the chamber, and really appreciate your time and effort. And by the way, audience, it took us 30 minutes to figure how to get logged on, because I know more about music than technology.
And that's all right. We made it work. We made it work.
Yeah, you did.
All right.
All right.
All right.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.